everybody, to another episode of the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast.
Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the TPT Chiefs Football. Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the TPT Chiefs Football Podcast. I am your host for today, Zach Story. I'm here with Grizzy, aka Nick, aka Grizzy. How you doing, man?
What's up, Zach? It's good to be back onto the TPT podcast. I am here today instead of Jaden. Jaden couldn't make it today. I don't know if Jaden wants us to get into it, but I'm here today, and that's all that matters.
Yep. Well, we're wishing well for Jaden. We heard he gets home tomorrow, and he's had some medical issues, so we're just praying for him. And we're excited to have him back on next week so we can get into some Chiefs stuff. But until then, with Grizzy being a Vikings fan and me being just a general NFL, nerd and a Chiefs fan, but also an NFL nerd, we're gonna get into our top 10 NFL quarterbacks heading into next year. And we were talking before the pod, like trying to establish ground rules on how we're ranking these players. And we're using the words heading into. So we're kind of predicting how they play next year, while at the same time taking into account everything that has happened in the past. And so it's kind of a predictive thing. And so there might be some hot takes because, there's some people in new situations. There's some rookies that are exciting. And so we'll see what we come up with.
Personally, you would take over the other one. I got Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford and maybe Dak. I feel like they're all arguable for number 10. Dak's one.
I want to hear what you, out of those three, because this is top 10, not top 12. Okay, so I know it's hard to decide and your brain goes one way and the other. Who would you give that spot if I put a gun to your screen right now?
So what I was going to say is just, I feel like they all have the argument to be number 10. If I had to pick one, I will explain though. Dak, puts up the stats. Stafford puts up the stats. Goff, had the really good supporting cast. I will say that Goff had a really good supporting cast, but he still put up the stats. But also you got to take into account the going into next year. You know what? I'm gonna give the edge to Dak, just because when you got a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, and not just Lamb, you still got all those other weapons too. Jake Ferguson's, a good weapon. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have who else do they got, Zach? I don't really know the Cowboys roster that
well. They always have a good O-line. CD is a top 5 receiver at this point, like you said.
Might even be top 3.
They have Brandon Cooks still, right?
I think they still have Brandon Cooks, yeah. And just the Cowboys, and if we're going, and I hate to say this to Cowboys fans, but if we're going based off like quarterbacks going into the regular season, the Cowboys are a big regular season team. So, you know what? I'm going to give it to Dak. He's been doing this for a long time now, and he puts up the numbers. But just so you know, you could argue get Goff or Stafford in my list if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too in-depth on the picks between them because I have one of those guys on my list a little farther down. But, as far as Dak goes, he was in MVP contention until the last few weeks of the season. And especially in that mid to late season, he was killing it. And so, he always performs in the regular season. Cowboys are the Cowboys in the postseason, but, we're only talking top 10. So I definitely agree with him being up there. My number 10, I have Jordan Love. And I don't know. Do I think you're going to have Jordan Love higher than 10? Probably, because when you get to that 7 to 15 range, it gets really close with all the quarterbacks. I love what Love did towards the end of the season, making a playoff push with the Packers and then almost making it to the NFC Championship game. He was really good for that first half against San Francisco, really impressive with no clear number one guy. Just a bunch of decent players on that offense. But really, it was him and Aaron Jones and then that deep receiving core doing all the damage. And he kind of fell apart towards the end. But, first year starting quarterback against a 49ers team in the playoffs, that's not, what I'm saying? That's a tough task. And so I really am excited. I'm excited to see him build a stronger rapport with that with that receiving core, and that's my number 10 guy. What about your number 9, Grizzy? Who you got?
In my number 9 position, I actually have division rival of Dak Prescott. I put Jalen Hurts at 9. And the reason I did that is Jalen Hurts is, he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. They didn't really have that great of a year last year, obviously losing in the first round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Hurts did take that Eagles team to a Super Bowl. It's not every day, you don't really go to the Super Bowl with a mediocre quarterback. You look at Mahomes, I guess like one of the worst quarterbacks in the past couple of Super Bowls, probably Brock Purdy, I guess. And I will argue to this day that Purdy's not a horrible quarterback. But I think Hurts deserves to be still in that top 10. He's not top 5, like maybe some people think. He's taken a slight detour since that Super Bowl run, but I'm still keeping Hurts in my top 9. Top 9. I'm gonna keep him at 9. Yeah. What about you, Zach? Who do you got in your 9 position?
I got Dak, who we already talked about a little bit. I mean, he puts up stats. He looks really good most of the time. And the Cowboys are always a high-scoring offense, okay? And he's their leader. And like we went over their personnel, they really don't have the craziest team talent-wise compared to a team like the 49ers or the Eagles. And so I think Dak deserves to be in the top 10. Now, he could definitely make a push for the top 7, 6 if he were to get over that hump. But, regular season performance predictors, I'm saying Dak's number 9. And number 8, I'm going to go ahead and hop into my number 8 because it's the same as who you just had for number 9. I have Jalen Hurts, and he was so good a year ago, and he was still a good quarterback last year. Now, he wasn't the 30 touchdowns, 3 picks or whatever it was that he had the year before. He had like 28 touchdowns, 15 picks, so not near as efficient at taking care of the ball. But I mean, he's a threat on the ground, of course. We know that. And he has a beautiful deep ball. He probably is a top 3 deep ball thrower in the league. Just like lays it over there for AJ Brown repeatedly. And so I think he still deserves to be there. Now, obviously, without having Jason Kelce and the other guys on his line, Lane Johnson getting older, we'll see how he holds up without the best line in the league. But he still has the receiving core. He still has Dallas Goedert. Now they have Saquon. And so I have him at 8. Who's your 8, Grizzy?
Number 8 position, I'm gonna have to go with Brock Purdy. And people might not like that. People might not like me putting Purdy over Hurts, but could you say Purdy has done more than Hurts already? They've been to the same amount of Super Bowls. Purdy, he got past the wild card this year. Purdy led them back against the Lions. Purdy did do a lot, and I know a lot of people say like, oh, when you got a supporting cast like that, you could throw Sam Darnold at quarterback and he's going to produce. And that's not really the case when you have a Josh Johnson. I know he was going up against the best defenses in the league, but Brock Purdy proved that Eagles team could be beaten when they beat them the next year by like 30 points. Purdy pretty much said, if I didn't get hurt, we were beating you guys, and I would have been to 2 Super Bowls now. So, you know what? I got to give the edge to Purdy over Hurts. He is Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last pick in the draft, but he's not irrelevant anymore. He is a star quarterback.
No, definitely. He was the guy that I did not want to leave off my list, but I had to, just because, I mean, I feel like if you put a Jordan Love or a Dak Prescott in San Francisco, they definitely do what Purdy does. And I'm predicting for next year when it comes to Jordan Love. Jordan Love last year might not have done what Purdy did last year because Purdy was ridiculously efficient last year. But predicting for next year, who do I think is the better player? I give it to Love. And then moving on to number 7, I have your number 10, I believe, or 10A, 10B. I have Matt Stafford there at number 7. And this was a difficult one because I feel like he's definitely 2 tiers below everyone above him. But I kind of want to move him below Dak and Hurts because I'm thinking about he's getting older. Now he's probably pushing 36, 37 now. He's almost that Aaron Rodgers age. And he obviously has a great rapport with Puka and Cooper Kupp. But do I really this might have been nostalgia putting him this high. I mean, he played a great season last year. He was 8th in MVP voting. He almost took down the Lions in that wild card round, which was a crazy game. Or it's tough. That's tough. Who's your number 7? I think I would move Stafford down looking at this again.
When when I was making my list, not gonna lie, I forgot about Jordan Love.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'm okay with putting Jordan Love in that 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D. I would put Jordan Love I just want to get this out there before people think I'm just being biased because I'm a Vikings fan. If that's okay with you, Zach. I would put Love above Stafford, obviously. And then I had Dak, Goff. I would put Love probably above Goff. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. And I think I'd take Dak over Love. I think I would, right going into 3 years from now, Love could be a top 5 quarterback. That's all I'm saying. But with that out of the way, my number 7 is Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert, still being young, still putting up the stats. And don't get me wrong, Zach. People put him in the top 5. People say, how is Justin Herbert not a top 5 quarterback? I never thought he was a top 5 quarterback. He is definitely not a top 5 quarterback. But going into week 1 next season, he will be a top 10 quarterback. At the end of the season, though, unless he pulls off something pretty crazy like a Mahomes-type run with these non-name receivers, Justin Herbert probably will be in my top 15 next year. But as of right now, Justin Herbert puts up the stats. He's a former Rookie of the Year. He puts up the stats. He puts up the passing yards. He's a hell of a quarterback. You put Justin Herbert on the 49ers, that's a Super Bowl team, Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
for right now, I'm keeping Herbert at 7. I still think, from the quarterback position, I would take him over Purdy. Now, who do you got at number 6? Zach?
I had Herbert at 6. And I don't know who I'm forgetting for you to have Herbert at 7. Because to me, my top 6 guys are so far ahead of my 7 through 10 guys. It's like I would take Herbert over Stafford, Hurts, Dak, and Love in a heartbeat. And I would like, if Herbert's my quarterback, I'm so happy. If these guys are my quarterback, I'm like, I don't know if I can win a Super Bowl, even though Stafford won one a couple years ago. Okay, that's how I'm thinking, unless I have a stacked roster. Herbert, being a Chiefs fan, I watch him a lot, and he gets done tremendously dirty. It's ridiculous. Like this man, lots of last year he did not play his best, but that's because everything was falling apart. Mike Williams tore his ACL. Keenan Allen was hurt. Austin Eckler was hurt. Like last year was a train wreck for that Chargers team, which every year basically is, but last year especially. And every time I watch Herbert for the most part, I'm like, man, this guy's really good. And so I have him right above Stafford, but he's really 2 tiers above Stafford, even if he's only 1 spot above Stafford. Who's your number 5? Because this is where it really gets interesting. Because, yeah, this is.
So this is actually my number 6.
Okay, yeah, 6.
So this is my 6. Man, you know what? This guy could be interchangeable with Herbert. Oh, I can't. You're going to like this one. Aaron Rodgers, number 6. Aaron
Rodgers, that guy. I forgot about him. The 3-time, 4-time MVP.
Aaron Rodgers, number 6. I know what you're thinking. He's older. But he is better than Stafford. I know you made the whole, he's older thing. Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs. Am I wrong? I think he won back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
2 years ago, he won back-to-back MVPs. Rodgers, he's in a new, he's finally going to make hopefully he's going to be healthy for the whole year in New York for the first time. But come on, man. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. You still got, a good solid tight end, Tyler Conklin, Breece Hall, a revamped offensive line. I get he's 40. Is he 40?
Yeah, he's 40.
He's 40, but Rodgers,
He's a grown man.
He's a grown man, but Rodgers, when you think of quarterback, you think of Tom Brady, you think of Aaron Rodgers. When you think of quarterback as just a word, you think of Rodgers. Unless he proves me wrong, I feel like the Jets could be a sleeper team for the Super Bowl. That defense is looking great, too. They got 2 studs on that defense, Ahmad Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Defense is going to do their thing. Rodgers has got to come in and do his thing. And if he could just, who knows, maybe Rodgers walks out with another MVP with that offense,
Yeah, the Jets are my team next year. I mean, I put $50 on the win the Super Bowl at plus 2,700, so I'll be walking away with more than a band if that hits. And so I would love if he was a top 6 quarterback. I left him off just because he might put up amazing stats because he has a crazy supporting cast this year. But I also think if I were to just put Dak in that same position, I would say Dak does better more often than not. But hey, we'll see because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's arguably the most talented thrower we've ever seen. So I like that pick. I hope you're right. I just had to leave him off. And now we're moving to 5, and my 5 is Burrow, which people might be like, "Yo, he's crazy for putting Burrow at 5," but I'm like, no. I've seen Burrow enough. I've Most of his credit comes from beating the Chiefs a lot, and I've seen how it's really the defense that beats us. And now he's a great quarterback. He's top 5. You know what I'm saying? But especially with this wrist injury that he had, where he couldn't even throw the football, and that's an injury that often just messes with a lot of stuff. He just started throwing recently. And if I'm thinking like who I know there's 4 quarterbacks better than Joe Burrow. I have him at 5. He's probably gonna have a good season, but I think he's gonna look more like he did last year than he did whenever his best season was, which his best season honestly isn't anything to write home about. So who do you have at 5?
And I think a lot of people forget, Zach, that Jake Browning, I'm pretty sure, had more wins last year than Joe Burrow.
Mm,
Or I don't know if that's a legit. I thought I heard
it's
somebody say
close.
that.
It's close.
It's close, but you still have Jamar Chase, but T Higgins,
Yeah, he just
you
signed
don't
again,
know.
franchise.
He
Is
just
he your
signed,
5?
but no, he is not my 5. CJ Stroud is my 5.
Okay.
You might want to put him. I think he could finish over Burrow 100%, but you have not seen enough from CJ Stroud to say that he is better than a quarterback that went to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. I cannot put
I think
I
CJ
can't.
Stroud last year looked better than Burrow as I
But you've
watching
also go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just I when I watched CJ Stroud last year, when I watched him against the Bengals, when I watched him against the Bills, he looks better than like than Joe Burrow's looked, in my opinion.
But
With
I'm
worse
keeping
weapons.
Stroud at 5. I'm keeping Stroud at 5. Some of you might say, oh, Stroud, he's had 1 year, which yes, I think he's had 1 year. That's why I keep him below Burrow. But why I put him over Rodgers, Herbert, Purdy, Hurts, and Dak is the fact that he did all of this with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, 2 hell of a receivers. And then you add Stephon Diggs, who is with all the getting rid of all the off the field issues. Stephon Diggs is a hell of a receiver. Stephon Diggs is a top 10 receiver easily, maybe top 7. I don't know. That's for another day of list making. But CJ Stroud is my 5. Do I think he could finish over Burrow next season? Yes, I do. Do I think Houston Texans are going to win that division? Yes, I do. Do I think Stroud's going to have a sophomore slump? No, I do not. I think if Stroud just does what he did last year, and plus he has a better offense, and don't forget Joe Mixon, he comes into the fray too. I think Stroud could be in the. You know what? I'm going to say it. Stroud could be in the running for MVP.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
think Stroud. I
100%.
think Stroud. I think Stroud. If he gets MVP, I think Stroud could be in the running for top 3 quarterback in the league next year. If he does another season like he had last season, I don't know, man.
Hey, I mean,
Stroud, hell of a quarterback. Go ahead,
yeah.
Zach. Who's your? Go ahead.
Number 4, I have Lamar, the 2-time MVP. Despite him winning 2 MVPs, the only year I would have put him higher than 4 is probably that first MVP year where he led his team to a 15-1, 14-2 record. He's really, really good. He's not a top 8 thrower. He's not. He might be a top 10 thrower, maybe. He's obviously the most dynamic player on the ground that we've ever seen at the quarterback position, and he wins games. He puts up crazy stats, even though they're not eye popping. They're like extremely efficient, a lot of rushing yards, and he doesn't deserve any worse than 4. So I can't put him any lower than 4. I think he's a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. He hasn't had the craziest supporting cast in his career, and yet he's been crazy productive. Now, I think the 3 people better ahead of him are just better, and I'd rather have them. 100 out of 100 times, I would rather have them as my quarterback, and so that's why he's 4. Who's your 4?
So my 4 is where I'm gonna put Burrow. That's who my 4 is Burrow. I think I kind of hinted at that where I said that Burrow was at 4, and then Stroud could jump him maybe. But Burrow's my 4. He took the Bengals to a Super Bowl. He's still a hell of a quarterback. He's done a lot for Cincinnati. He has been a little bit of on the injury. He's been injured a couple times now. Burrow, I feel like unless he has another Super Bowl run, I feel like Burrow could be slowly heading down. I feel like, but as of right now, he's taking the Bengals to the Super Bowl. But he's got to stay healthy. He's got Jamar Chase, his college teammate. They in the offseason they did, I know they drafted a lineman. You got to keep Burrow protected. And then if you keep Burrow protected and you still got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and whoever, I mean, Joe Burrow could still be a top 5 quarterback going into next year, the 2025-2026 season. But Burrow's got to stay healthy and he's got to just produce. You can't sit there and say, I beat the Kansas City Chiefs once to go to the Super Bowl and now I'm a top 5 quarterback. That's not why I'm putting him in top 5. Burrow, you're a top 5 quarterback because you're talented and you're a hell of a quarterback. You got to get past Mahomes again because ever since you beat him once, you can't really beat him again. Like Mahomes has kind of just owned your ass, to be honest.
Yeah, we've only beat them once, but he's been owned by other people. Like he gets owned by his division rivals. The Ravens own him. The Browns have owned him. So, hey, I feel like I'm hating on Joe Burrow a little too much. Joe Burrow's great. Okay, he's in my top 5 for a reason. But he's a little overrated because
he's in my top
for some
4.
reason his team's been able to beat the Chiefs when no one else had. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, he's beaten the Chiefs. Maybe it is Burrowhead. Whatever
it's not,
you gotta say.
Please.
Whatever you Cincinnati fans have to say. You've done good against Kansas City, but that's not why I'm putting you in top 5. But I will say this: you guys may have not owned Kansas City. I don't really watch many Kansas City and Cincinnati games, but I will say that you guys might, be the whatever. You might be like the what's
Kryptonite?
it called? What's that thing? You might be the kryptonite of Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes still has 3 rings and Burrow still got none, man. I'm sorry, but Mahomes still produces. Even if you guys are the kryptonite, but that's all you can really hang your head on. But Mahomes still got 3 of them things.
Yep. And so we're gonna quickly get into our top 3 because we're running out of time on the meeting. So number 3, I have CJ Stroud up here. I love CJ Stroud. I love how I love how he plays quarterback. I love how his throwing motion. Ever since he played against Georgia in that college football playoff semifinal, I was like, he should be the number 1 pick. And then I thought that he would be, but the draft people thought differently. And that's fine. That's fine. He landed in a great situation. We didn't know it yet. We thought it was a trash situation, but they hired DeMeco Ryans. They traded for a bunch of crazy players. And now I think we're seeing the guy that is going to give Mahomes the most trouble from here on out. The other guys don't have the situation around them. They don't have the cap flexibility that this guy has. And he is just naturally great at football. And I'm super excited to watch him. So he's my number 3. Who's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going to take your number 4, I'm pretty sure, and I'm doing Lamar. Lamar is my number 3, 2-time MVP. He's, him and my number 2, maybe you could interchange them, but I'm going to keep Lamar at 3. Self-explanatory, 2 MVPs. He's been a really good regular season player, but it's just those playoffs. He's kind of just like Burrow where you just can't get there. Like, maybe, Lamar obviously hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet, but that's what Baltimore needs to do. They added Derrick Henry. That offense should be better. They lost Odell, though. That's, a receiving weapon loss. But Lamar, he still put up the stats, even if some of them are rushing stats. Do I think that, like you said, Stroud at 3? I think Stroud could pass him just for the fact that Stroud is more of a quarterback and Lamar, he is known for rushing. Not saying he's just a rusher because he can sling the ball. Lamar can sling the ball. He's done it before. But for right now, I'm keeping Lamar at 3. And let's go to your top 2.
And
Zach.
we got the same 2 and 1, which I'm very happy because I would have had major beef with you if you had either of these different. Because when I look at Josh Allen, it's like this man. Josh Allen is my least favorite player in the league because he is the most frustrating player to go against. He is a magician, just like Mahomes is. He's just as much a magician as Mahomes is. He's just more inconsistent. And so it leads to a little more, somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? And also, not as many Super Bowl rings yet, but there's no doubt in my mind that if Allen is given the right pieces, and he can string together a consistent stretch of games, he can have one of the best playoff performances ever. He is that good at throwing and rushing. It's ridiculous. Tell me what you love about Allen, because I love that guy and I hate him at the same time.
So at number 2, I have Mahomes.
Whoa!
And
No, you're
the
joking.
reason
No, you're
why,
joking, bro.
The reason why is because
Not you joking.
he's not as good as Allen. Allen's number 2. I got Allen at 2.
Oh, okay. What? Okay,
I
bro.
said
You just confused
He's
me,
not
bro.
as good as Allen. He's not. I said that wrong.
Okay.
He's not as good as Mahomes. I got Allen at 2. Just had to troll wherever he is. I got to troll Zach a little bit. Allen's at 2. Come on. This is literally, I will say, if there is a man who is real life Superman, I feel like it's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He's tall. He's tall. He's got the weight. He can run. He can throw the ball. What, 80 yards?
Yeah.
70 yards? Hey, but Mahomes can do that too. And Mahomes has got the hardware for it to show.
Yeah.
You know, Allen doesn't have the Super Bowl. Allen does not have the Super Bowl yet. But like, I feel like Josh Allen is real life Superman.
Yep.
Like, I will say, if Patrick Mahomes was not born, Allen could be a multiple time Super Bowl champion right now.
I mean, they've lost
Allen
3
could-
times.
Allen-
They were probably the best
Allen-
team in 2021, other than us. I mean, we didn't even win.
He
but
could be a 1 or 2 time Super Bowl champ right now.
I'd say he definitely has one.
If it wasn't for one guy, you know, and I'm gonna transfer right here, Zach, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to my number 1, obviously. It's JJ McCarthy. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah,
It's Patrick Mahomes. And when you talk about a guy who's just kept good teams from making a Super Bowl, it's him. It's Mahomes. He's done it in 13 seconds. He's done it it doesn't matter how much time you get.
24-0. Oh my
Done
goodness.
it 24-0. Mahomes has done it. He's number 1. He's number 1 in the league. There's no arguing that. He's on his way to possibly passing the greatest quarterback of all time. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe not.
Nope.
If Mahomes gets the 4th, and then the 5th, and then the 6th, and the 7th, you know, he might be the best quarterback of all time. He is easily the best quarterback. He will go down as the best quarterback of the 2020s, easily.
Yep.
He might go down as the best quarterback in the last. He might go back. You know what? I'm going to say he probably will go down if he doesn't pass Brady. He probably will go down as the best quarterback of all time, not named Tom Brady.
He's okay. I don't want to get too much in this because this is not a GOAT debate. This is just a top 10 right now. I think he's going to become the GOAT in a similar sense that Michael Jordan did after his first three-peat. People were like, oh yeah, he's the best of all time. They didn't really need to see him match Kareem in MVPs or championships. They didn't need to see that. They just need to see a stretch of dominance that we've never seen before, both regular season stats-wise, wins-wise, playoffs. That has never been done. So if we win the chip next year, which that's a lot to ask because, you know, it's still a whole season to go. But I think we'll start that Jordan conversation where it's like, oh yeah, he's the best. He doesn't need to do anything else. He can go retire and play.
And Jordan is the GOAT, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. You just got points in my book because I am only surrounded by LeBron fans and it makes me sick. My dad is the only guy that's on my squad with the Jordan debate. So, all right, that's it. I don't even need to talk about him other than that.
Okay. Yo, wait, hold up.
Oh, all good.
You
That's
see
fresh.
that?
I could kind of see
Yup.
it for a second. That's fresh. The red, that's
Yup.
fresh. All right, Grizzy. I appreciate you for coming on.
I'm sorry I had to troll you a little bit with that Allen at number 1, but no,
Bro.
Mahomes is Mahomes. I know I said it wrong too. I said he's not better than Allen.
Yeah.
I said I have Mahomes at 2 because he's not better than Allen. I meant to say I have Mahomes at 2. Just kidding. He's not better than Mahomes.
Yeah, you messed that up. You had
Just
me
kidding,
seriously
Allen.
thinking you're dementia. So, yep.
Hey, it was planned. It was planned. It was all part of the joke.
Yeah.
It was all part of
I
the
respect it, bro. Thanks for making me laugh, actually, because I'm very
Mahomes is
I'm
undisputed.
just as passionate about Allen at 2 as I am Mahomes at 1. Actually, more passionate because I'm like, if anyone disrespects Josh, if anyone puts Lamar Burrow over him, I'm just sick to my stomach. Thank y'all for watching the TPT Chiefs Football Podcast. Hopefully, we'll do another episode next week, and it might be all 3 of us. It might be 2 of us, me and Jaden. Hopefully, it's not just us 2 because we need Jaden back. You know what I'm saying? So,
We do need Jaden back.
yep. But in the meantime, y'all enjoyed this football off season, and you know what I'm saying, keep enjoying life. Thank you, Grizzly, for hopping on with me, man.